In the first episode of Run It Back, let's talk about Chris Cuomo and a missed opportunity for progressives. As you probably heard, Chris Cuomo from CNN has the coronavirus, and that's pretty unfortunate. Apparently he has a fever he just hasn't been able to kick. And even though he's in the elite crust of society, he's just locked in his basement feeling like shit, just like the poor people are. Although he's probably in a way nicer house with better shit and plenty of food and stuff like that. Anyways, on Monday, he went on his podcast and started being a little more honest than we expect CNN pundits to be.
I don't want to spend my time doing things that I don't think are valuable enough to me personally. Like what? Well, I don't like what I do professionally, I've decided. I like doing this show. I like talking to you guys. But I don't value indulging irrationality, hyperpartisanship. I don't think it's worth my time.
Whoa, he doesn't like what he does. And he doesn't think it's worth his time to indulge irrationality and hyperpartisanship. Hey, guess what, Chris? Me either. I'm going to bring in Anna Kasparian now from TYT to sum up what else Chris had to say, just because we're going to come back to this TYT clip in a little bit.
And then he says, I don't think it's worth it to me because I don't think I mean enough. I don't think I matter enough. I don't think I can easily change anything. So then what am I really doing?
So Cuomo doesn't like his job and he knows he can't change anything. So why doesn't he just leave? I'll tell you why. Because he makes a shitload of money. Because he makes millions and millions and millions of dollars. And you know why he knows that the system's not going to change? That he knows he's not really going to be able to change anything? It's because the media is functioning exactly as it was designed to function. It was not designed to seek the truth. No. The media is designed to maximize profit. These are corporations designed to seek profit. And how do they seek profit? They maximize ad revenue. How do you maximize ad revenue? You maximize eyeballs on the screen. And to get eyeballs on the screen, you need drama. And so that's what the media does, is it creates drama. They treat whatever the crazy shit Trump's doing right now the same way they treated Obama wearing a brown suit. It doesn't matter what's going on. They want to create the most drama possible. They want Democrats and Republicans to continue fighting. They want the people watching at home to be as scared as possible so they keep watching to get the updates they need. That's the goal. And Cuomo knows he's not going to change that. And so, of course, the media doesn't want you to know that, right? They don't want you to know that their whole game is bullshit and they're not actually here to do any journalism. They're here to make money. So when one of their pundits goes online and starts telling people what's really going on, they probably get a little shitty. It wasn't even a day later that Cuomo walked back everything that he had said.
He walked it back, says, I never said it. I never meant it. Walked back, I think his bosses got pretty mad.
Yeah, I think Zucker said.
Also revealed
Chris, clean it up.
revealed there that Chris just signed a multi-year deal at CNN. So
I guess he
lock
must
in,
not,
buddy.
Guess he must not hate it that much.
Must hate it that much.
I don't like what I do.
Chris, you know that's bullshit. I know that's bullshit. Everybody that's watching knows that's bullshit. The reason you walked back your statements was because CNN almost definitely put a little pressure on you to do so. And to be honest, if I was CNN, I'd have done the same thing. Because if I was CNN, my goal would be to maximize profit, not give a shit about what Chris Cuomo thinks. And when you go on your podcast and you start speaking truth to power like that, that's what they're gonna do every single time. You know, this kind of reminds me of something else that happened to Chris Cuomo a couple months ago, maybe a year ago. You guys remember the Fredo video?
The man apparently called Cuomo by the name Fredo, referring to the fictional character from the Godfather films, which led to this confrontation.
I thought that's who you were.
No,
from the right call me Fredo. My name is Chris Cuomo. I'm an anchor on CNN.
You're much...
Fredo is from The Godfather. He was that weak brother.
Isn't that your
and
brother?
And they use it as an Italian aspersion. Any of you Italian?
I'm a little...
Are you Italian?
I got a little...
It's a insult to your people. It's an insult to your people. It's like the N-word for us.
That's the real Chris Cuomo right there, I'm pretty sure. He doesn't like taking shit. He'll stand up for himself. He doesn't like bullshit. Those right-wing bros were getting in his face, trying to talk shit, trying to get a reaction out of him so they could send it off somewhere and go viral and they could discredit the mainstream media. There's real reasons to discredit the mainstream media. Chris Cuomo standing up for himself is not one of them. But that clip revealed the real Chris. And when Cuomo went on his podcast and made his complaints, they seem to line up. They're kind of the same things. He doesn't like bullshit. And that's not the only reason. Listen to what else Cuomo said on his podcast.
And I don't want some jackass, loser, fat tire biker to be able to pull over and get in my face and in my space and talk bullshit to me. I don't want to hear it. And just like you would, right? You're not going to tolerate that, right? Some cat just basically pulls up in the driveway next to yours and starts getting in your face about stuff. How's that going to go? How's that going to go, right? That matters to me more than making millions of dollars a year. That matters to me more. Why? Because I've saved my money.
What Cuomo's pretty much saying is that he hates dealing with bullshit. And CNN is mostly bullshit. You know, it's interesting when you go through and actually look at the demands, I guess you can say, that Cuomo is making in this interview, the problems he's actually having with CNN, where his problems lie. He doesn't feel like he can change things, so he doesn't have power. He doesn't really need the money, as he just said there, because he saved his money. So money's not an issue for him. And he wants his dignity, pretty much. He wants to be able to talk that shit. He wants to be able to stand up for himself. He wants to be able to say what he truly means. He wants to be able to cut people's mics and kick them off his show. And I would too if I had been doing what he's doing for as long as he's been doing it. To be treated in some ways as you're the best in the business at what you do, and in other ways you have no control over your show or what's going on. I totally get that. And that brings me to the main point of this video. That when you look at those three things, that he doesn't have power, that he doesn't need money, and that he's searching for dignity, that sounds like an opportunity for progressive media to reach out. There was a 24-hour period after that podcast came out where we learned about the real Chris Cuomo and what he really thought about his job at CNN. There was a time period there where progressives could have reached out. We could have maybe tried to bring him into the fold. I'm not saying it would have worked, but the progressive media checks off all the boxes he's looking for. He doesn't need the money. Cool, we don't got it. He wants to be able to change things. He wants actual power over his show. He gets that. And he wants to be able to talk that shit. Oh, we know left media talks a lot of shit. Kalinsky talks that shit. Sam Cedar talks that shit. Jank talks that shit. Anna talks that shit. He'd been able to do that. He would have had everything he wanted. But what didn't happen? Nobody on the left reached out. Nobody on the left saw this as an opportunity to say, hey, this is someone we could add to our ranks. This is someone who might join our team and make us stronger. Now, I'm not saying Chris Cuomo would have suddenly become a leftist and started pushing socialist policy or anything like that. No, that's not the power he brings. The power he brings is legitimacy, pretty much. When someone like Chris Cuomo leaves the mainstream media and goes to YouTube, he makes everybody else on YouTube, the left mostly, look better, especially when we're bridging a gap with him based on an issue that's really important, which is that the mainstream media is terrible. We've seen how Trump has utilized the fake news media and that type of language to so much effect, and the biggest problem with that is he's kind of right. We know the problems. And what the problem really is that it's corporate backed and it's corrupt. And so when we can bridge a gap with someone as legitimate as Cuomo, suddenly we can insert things about corruption into conversations really easily. Instead, what we got was reporting from the left. People saying, oh, look, Cuomo, meltdown. Wow, that's unfortunate. And it is unfortunate. But it's mostly unfortunate because it was a huge missed opportunity. It reminds me of another guy that's recently come over to the left that progressives have not reached out to at all either. And brace yourself for this name, Peter Dow. Peter Dow got his start, as far as I know, in 2004 on John Kerry's campaign. And then he was on Hillary in 2008. And of course, Hillary in 2016. He was hardcore Hillary, anti-Bernie bro type of dude. And then something happened. Something magical happened. I don't know when, but between that election and this one, and Dow decided that Bernie was the best candidate. He was totally right, but he totally flipped. And now, even to this day, a couple days ago, he tweeted something supporting Medicare for all and how important it is. That shit's important. And even though he's done a full 180 in terms of the Democratic side of things, there's still not a lot of love for him. There's still a lot of treating him like, oh yeah, we remember what you did. But to me, who gives a shit what he did if he's supporting the things we care about now? Of course, we have to have principles. We can't let anybody in, but we have to have a little bit bigger of a tent when people are trying to help us, especially when those people are useful. Dow is useful because he knows all the centrists and those types, and if he can just maybe help us convince some of them to sign on to Medicare for all, that's a win for us. Who cares where Medicare for all comes from, as long as we get it and it's the real kind of Medicare for all, not some fake corporate-backed bullshit, which is probably what we'll get when we do finally get it. No, instead, Dow should have been reached out to. We should have brought him in. We should have made him an ally. We should have made him feel welcome. We didn't. Cuomo is the same thing. We had an opportunity, not saying it definitely would have worked, but there was at least a chance. And it shows that the left isn't as strategic maybe as they should be in how they reach out to people. Now, I'm not saying we need to be nice. I think we've seen how that goes on Twitter, how snake emojis can end endorsements or something like that. But we have to be strategic and tactical about how we talk to people. And we should be respectful, and we should approach things with the idea that we want to add to our coalition, not build up walls, not say you're not allowed in because of X, Y, or Z. It should be good that people learn. And I'm not saying we should trust these people or vote for these people or anything like that, but to let them in just so they can support us, maybe they do feel like they can't vote for a candidate if their supporters are dicks. I mean, that's not my bag. I don't give a shit about that, but they might, and we should be empathetic to that. And interestingly enough, Cuomo already had a connection to progressive media that we could have leveraged. Cenk Uygur regularly shows up on Cuomo's show, and Anna's been on there too. And Cenk several times mentioned that he likes Cuomo and he thinks he's a good guy. And he appreciates that Cuomo lets progressives on the show.
Well, this is part of why we like Cuomo. Sometimes he slips up and is too honest.
Beyond just liking Cuomo, Anna says something later that really speaks to the main point of this video and really is the main reason I put these TYT clips in this video at all.
One person isn't going to change things. I mean, that's just demonstrably true. But it's not just about, oh, I can't change anything. It's about feeling like you have to fight people who should be in the battle with you. You know what I mean? So it's like you have all these obstacles, and the very people who should be helping you out are the people who fight against you when it comes to changing certain things, like Medicare for all, for instance, doing something substantive to improve our healthcare system. We have to fight Democrats more aggressively than any other group of people in trying to accomplish that.
Anna's point is totally true. On the left, most of the time we find ourselves fighting other people on the left, whether that's fighting the Democratic Party to get them to stand for anything, or fighting black bloc leftists who want to burn everything to the ground, or who think voting itself's a waste of time, or that anarchy is the only solution. You know, we have our fights on the left, and that's a big problem. We're not very good at making friends, and we're not very good at taking yes for an answer. Now, while we always fight with each other, we should be willing to accept people when they want to fight with us. When Peter Dow is willing to tweet about Medicare for all, we should be cool with that. We should be excited because he's speaking to an establishment or centrist base that maybe we're not able to communicate with, or maybe we're not able to communicate with effectively, and maybe he can. Cuomo's the same way. He was a guy who was in a crisis situation, and he let his true feelings out for the whole world to hear. And his true feelings lined up with ours pretty much exactly. He wants to be able to stand up for himself. That's what we do on the left. He's not in it just for the money. That's kind of us on the left, mostly because we don't got it. And he wants to be able to change things, and that's our whole goal. That's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you will be with us next time. Thank you.